They always told me not to look under the bed, but I never understood why. Not until that night when I heard the whisper soft, raspy, calling my name. It wasn't coming from the closet or the window. It came from directly beneath me. Now, I can't unsee what I saw. It wasn't just a shadow. It wasn't just a trick of the light. Something is under there, and it's waiting. But for what? The first time I heard it, I thought I was dreaming. It was late, well past midnight, and the world outside was silent. Even the crickets had gone still. I lay in bed, staring at the faint glow of the moon through my curtains, when I heard it. Psst, down here. The whisper was so faint I almost dismissed it. Maybe it was the wind slipping through the cracks of my window. Or maybe I was hearing things in that half-asleep, half-awake state. I rolled over, pulling the blanket tighter around me. But then I heard it again, come closer. This time, I froze, my breath hitched, my ears straining in the dark. The voice was raspy, almost playful, but there was something about it that sent a shiver racing down my spine. I sat up, scanning the room. The closet door was shut, the windows locked, and nothing seemed out of place. Under here, it was clear now. The sound was coming from beneath my bed. My heart pounded so loud I was sure it would drown out the voice. I stared at the edge of the mattress, debating whether to look or to run. Every horror movie I'd ever seen screamed at me to stay put. But curiosity has a way of overriding fear, doesn't it? I swung my legs over the side, my feet brushing the cool wooden floor. Slowly, I crouched down, lifting the edge of the blanket. The space under the bed was dark to dark. The flashlight on my phone barely pierced the blackness. I leaned closer, trying to see what was there. And then I saw it. Two glinting eyes stared back at me, unblinking. They weren't the eyes of an animal. They were too human, too knowing. A cold, amused voice broke the silence. "I've been waiting for you." I scrambled back, crashing into the knit stand and knocking my lamp to the floor. The light flickered once before plunging the room into complete darkness. My chest tightened, my throat dry as I struggled to breathe. I reached for my phone, but the screen wouldn't turn on. The whisper came again, louder this time. "You shouldn't have looked." I bolted for the door, my hands fumbling with the handle. I could feel it behind me, something cold and heavy creeping closer. When I finally yanked the door open, I ran straight into my mother. "What's wrong?" she asked, her face a mixture of concern and irritation. "There's something under my bed," I stammered, my voice shaking. She sighed, grabbing a flashlight from the hallway shelf. "There's nothing under there but dust bunnies. Let me show you." "No." I grabbed her arm, panic surging through me. "Please don't look." But she pulled free, muttering something about overactive imaginations. She crouched by my bed and lifted the blanket. The beam of the flashlight illuminated the empty space. "See," she said, turning to me with a weary smile. Nothing there. I stared at the empty floor, my heart still racing. But as she stood and turned off the flashlight, I caught a flicker of movement. A shadow slipping back into the darkness. That night, I didn't sleep. And every time I closed my eyes, I could hear the whisper, "Don't look again." The shadow's warning. The morning came too slowly, and the first rays of sunlight felt like a lifeline. I told myself it was just my imagination. Maybe I was overtired. Maybe the stress of finals at school or binge watching too many horror movies had gotten to me. But deep down, I knew better. I avoided my room all day, staying in the living room where the TV drowned out my thoughts. By evening, though, I had no choice but to go back. My mom would think I was crazy if I refused to sleep in my own bed. As I stepped into the room, everything looked normal exactly as I'd left it. Yet the air felt different, heavy, charged, like I wasn't alone. I checked under the bed before anything else. It was empty, no eyes, no whispers, just the wooden floor and a forgotten sock. I exhaled, trying to laugh at myself, but the memory of those eyes wouldn't leave me. By midnight, I was lying stiffly in bed, every muscle tense. The quiet was oppressive, amplifying the faint creaks of the house settling. I kept telling myself to relax, but sleep wouldn't come. Then, just as I was starting to drift off, I heard it again. "Why didn't you listen?" The whisper cut through the silence, sharp and accusing. My chest tightened, and I instinctively pulled the blanket over my head. "Don't look," the voice hissed. "Not this time." I squeezed my eyes shut, my heart pounding. It was closer now. I could feel it, like someone was crouching right beside the bed, leaning in. "Go away," I whispered, my voice barely audible. It laughed, a low, guttural sound that sent chills down my spine. "I tried to warn you. Now it's too late." I couldn't take it anymore. Without thinking, I bolted from the bed and threw on the light. The room was empty, but the energy was undeniable. Something had been there, and it was still watching. The next morning, I did what anyone desperate would do. I searched for answers online. I found forums and blogs filled with stories just like mine. Whispers under the bed, shadows that moved on their own. And the warnings? Never look, never invited in. One post caught my attention. It described a ritual way to seal whatever I'd unleashed. All I needed were a handful of salt, a mirror, and a candle. That night, armed with supplies, I waited for the house to go silent. The steps of the ritual played in my head like a broken record. Light the candle, sprinkle the salt in a circle around the bed. Place the mirror on the floor, reflective side up. When the time came, I moved with shaky hands, completing each step as instructed. The final part was the hardest, sitting on the edge of the bed and looking into the mirror. As I stared, the reflection seemed wrong. The room was the same, yet darker somehow. The shadows around the edges of the mirror seemed to writhe and twist, and then I saw it. Something moved in the reflection, just under the bed. A pale, elongated hand stretched out, its fingers impossibly long and clawed. Slowly, it grasped the edge of the mirror, pulling itself into view. Its face was pale and hollow, eyes too large and too dark, fixed directly on me. Its mouth stretched into a grin that didn't belong on anything human. Looking again, it rasped, "Now I know where you sleep." The mirror cracked, splintering the image into 1,000 fragments. The candle blew out, plunging the room into darkness. And the whisper came again, louder this time. "You can't escape me now." The final descent. I didn't sleep at all after the mirror shattered. My room felt like a cage, every corner alive with shadows that seemed to pulse and stretch toward me. By morning, I was a wreck. My hands trembled as I tried to eat breakfast, the taste of food turning to ash in my mouth. "What's wrong with you?" my mom asked, her voice tinged with annoyance. "Nothing," I muttered, avoiding her gaze. How could I explain what was happening? She wouldn't believe me. That night, I decided I couldn't stay in the room any longer. I grabbed a sleeping bag and headed to the living room, hoping that distance would help. But as I lay on the couch, the quiet crept back in. At first, it was subtle. A faint rustling sound, like fabric brushing against the floor. I told myself it was just the wind, maybe a branch scraping against the window. But then, I heard it again. "Why are you running?" The whisper was closer now, coming from somewhere behind me. My body froze, my heart hammering so hard it hurt. I didn't dare turn around. "You can't hide," it hissed, its voice sharp and cold. Slowly, I turned my head, my eyes scanning the dimly lit room. At first, I saw nothing. But then, in the corner near the staircase, a shadow began to stretch. It grew taller, darker, until it formed the shape of something not quite human. Its eyes opened, glinting like shards of broken glass. "You broke the rules," it said, its voice reverberating through the room. "You looked. You invited me in." I scrambled off the couch, backing away until my back hit the wall. "What do you want from me?" I choked out, tears streaming down my face. It tilted its head, that unnatural grin spreading wider. "To take what you've offered." The room seemed to twist around me, the walls closing in. Shadows slithered across the floor like living things, reaching for my feet. I ran, my legs barely carrying me up the stairs. I slammed the door to my room and pressed my back against it, gasping for breath, but the whispers didn't stop. They were inside now, coming from all directions. Under the bed, I turned, my eyes drawn to the bed as if compelled. The blanket hung just above the floor, swaying ever so slightly. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't stop myself. Slowly, I crouched down, lifting the edge of the blanket. This time, there was no hesitation. The face was there, waiting. Pale, grinning, its hollow eyes staring into mine. "Time's up," it said, its hand shooting out and grabbing my wrist. The room spun as I was yanked forward. My body pulled under the bed faster than I could scream. Darkness swallowed me, thick and suffocating. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my room anymore. I was in a cold, endless expanse, the ground beneath me made of twisted roots and ash. Shadows writhed in the distance, their shape shifting and unnatural. And the voice came again, echoing in the void. "Welcome to my world, you'll never leave. Now, I'm stuck here. If you're reading this, take my advice. Don't look under the bed. No matter what you hear, no matter what whispers call to you, don't ever look. Because if you do, you'll end up like me, lost forever." Now that you know the danger lurking under the bed, will you dare to look tonight? Let us know in the comments if this story gave you chills. And if you're ready for more spine-tingling tales, check out our other videos. Stay scared. Now that you know the danger lurking under the bed, will you dare to look tonight? Let us know in the comments if this story gave you chills. And if you're ready for more spine-tingling tales, check out our other videos. Stay scared.